my Teaser King family. Let's try this again. I don't know what's going on with the internet here. Again, the internet works. It's just YouTube. So when I get on, like now it's fine. And then all of a sudden the internet breaks. I see it's very slow today. We'll see what happens. But we'll keep fighting them until we get our class in. If I get past the first 2 minutes, I should be okay. I don't know why I get hit on the internet connection crap when my internet's obviously fine. Let's give it a minute. Anyway, so happy day. We feel much relieved with gold, 32.13. You can see from 2 a.m. it's just gone up, 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 up. 32.13. The U.S. did not do a 10 o'clock drop. There was no 4 o'clock drop. There was no 8 o'clock drop. It's funny how they happen pretty much, not exactly on the hour, but close. So here we got 32.13, and, it's all perspective, right? When we're at 34.20, we don't think we'll see 32 anymore. And then when we see 31 and change, we're going, how far is this son of a bitch dropping? And we know it's just a matter of time till it goes up, because we know we have the demand from BRICS all buying gold. So that's going to push it up. So this was just two things. They were getting out of derivatives. So as I showed you, Eddie Murphy, when you short the derivative, they shorted orange juice at 142. They sold it. They shorted it. They said, okay, this is 142. We think it's going to go lower. And then they had to do the other side, which was the buying, and they bought it at like 40, and it went all the way down to 29. So they made money by selling 142, buying at 29. But if you notice, the Duke and Dukes got killed because they bought it instead of selling it at 120 and 130 and 140, and they couldn't sell out of it because the price went down. So if they did, they were gonna lose their ass. Otherwise than that, the movie made no sense. It was a very stupid movie from the standpoint of these rich guys. They're going to try to corner the orange juice market when they're multimillionaires to start with. They don't need it. They would fire Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and make enemies with them just before you're going to do this thing. You'd have thought that would have been the last. He says later on, well, let's not rock the boat and get rid of Murphy. You got rid of Aykroyd, who was running your company. What are you, insane? So that was the problem with the movie. It makes no sense. You would never do that in reality. And I don't know why they didn't like Aykroyd. He's going to marry their granddaughter or whatever. So if he fucked you over in a certain way and you want to get rid of him, okay. But as far as I know, he didn't do anything. Although I was wondering why he was doing payroll. Minimum wage with attorneys and stockbrokers. I don't think so. Anyway, so what happens here, these idiots who are JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, the bullion banks are running derivatives, are shorting the market when you see a drop. So when they short it, what happens? Well, they want the price to go down, but then the price goes up. And when the price goes up, then what do? They're screwed because they can't do the other end of their derivative. So if you're shorting, you have to buy to complete the order. What's happening in silver, they can't buy because they shorted at 25. They need to buy it at less than 25, and it's at 32. It's at 32.41 right now. So they can't buy it because they've sold it at a lower price. That's why they're holding it down, because if it hits, for some reason, if it hits 30, 35, 36, all the bullion banks say bye-bye, because they're going to lose a fortune in the derivatives. That's who's controlling the price, not China. All China's doing is buying silver directly from the mine, and they're paying for it with J.P. Morgan, and they're taking it to the facility in Switzerland, to turn it into bars, and then it goes into their safes, their vaults. So that's all it is. But they're not controlling the price. They're just buying more because they know the dollar's gone. So what happened there was people trying to get out of the derivatives who are foolish enough to short at 32 and 33. You see it shorted every day, right? We see the drop and then with the buy. Well, the drop is the short, but they need to buy. So when they short it and then it goes up, they're fucked. They can't buy it. All they've done is sold it. They can't do the second part of it. And this is what happens. This is what happens with it. It's just it's just being sold. So they're trying to knock the price down so they can buy. So at 3,300 or 3,200 when they sold, by getting it down to 31.30 or whatever, allowed them to buy. So I sold at 32, I can buy at 31.30. And you know gold's worth 10,000 an ounce easy, but you sit there and you go, how low are they going to knock this? Because it's all bullshit. It's not real. It is not somebody buying and selling physical gold. It's just bullshit. It's like the market is this. This is a real card. I'm selling it. Somebody buys it. That's a market. Not a paper Mario Lemieux, but a physical. But what you're doing on gold, what we've been seeing is nobody is selling gold. That's the really strange part of it, is nobody's selling gold, lowering the price. It's not like there's no demand for gold, lowering the price. So this is a very peculiar situation we have. Gold's going down with nobody selling it, just derivatives. So the idiots who are selling short into a market going up are losing their ass. So they do this once in a while where they dump it and they drop it by doing all these shorts. And then how long can they go? And then we saw 31.30. And I think that's gone now. I don't think we'll ever see 31. Well, who knows? We might, but you see how quickly today, now we got a big day. So that was to get out of their derivative positions. It was nobody selling gold. This is nobody. There's probably a lot of buyers at these prices. That's the other part of it. You allow people to buy gold cheap when you lower the price, because for some reason, some idiot said, yeah, let's put the price of gold in comex, which is a paper market, and let's everybody use that as the price of gold, which is absolutely ridiculous. The price of physical gold has got nothing to do with comex, which is why we go to the gold store and buy gold and silver, because these prices are not real to the physical market. It's just they're dumping contracts like Eddie Murphy, right? Was the real price of orange juice 102? Was it 142, or was it the 29 at the end? None of them. That was the paper price. And that's what happens with the paper. So they're doing it to do what Eddie Murphy did. I'm going to sell at 142 and buy at 29. That's what they're doing in gold and silver. That's why I show you Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. That's their whole goal. I bought at 3,400. I sold at 3,400. I just bought at 31.30. But then you bring in more players and say, well, I'm going to buy at 31.30 also. And that's when the price shoots up. And now they can sell if they want at 32, but they don't want to because it's too cheap. Just like us, we have all the gold. Not all the gold. We have gold. We're not looking to sell it. There's no reason to sell it. So anyway, that's where we're at with this bullshit comex. That's why I questioned and laughed at the price of gold and comex, because neither of them are real. What is the real price of gold? It's here. And what's comex? Here. So that's really, the market's up here. That's why people are buying it at 3,200. And the reason is because this is worthless. And therefore, because this is worthless, I have to get into gold and silver. It's the only lifeboat around. Therefore, to get into the lifeboat, I have to Rumpelstiltskin this and sell this for real gold and silver. I don't care what the price of gold is. I got to get out of this because it's worth zero and get into gold because it's the only lifeboat available to get into before I lose hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. And that's it. So that's what you got to realize, right? So it doesn't matter the price of gold. I have to get out of dollars and into gold, whatever the price is. That's why when I go to the store, I don't care what the price is. I know the real price. Let's call it 10,000, and comex is 3,200. So I bring my money. It doesn't matter because I know gold is up here, and it doesn't even matter that. What matters is I have more gold as I watch the dollar collapse, which it's doing because you can't print the dollar to zero. Then you have this whole media circus where they think they know why people are selling their gold. Gold's down because of the tariffs. What a bunch of bullshit that is. Inflation's down because of the tariffs. Again, they don't understand inflation. Inflation is not prices. I mean, think about the word inflation. It means inflate. You're inflating a tire. What are you doing? You're putting air into the tire. You're making it bigger. You can only inflate the dollar. You can only print more of this. That's all you can inflate, not wages, not prices. This is the inflation, is you're printing more, and then the more you print, the less its value. That's all inflation is. I was just watching Alligator and Egon, and it was a really nothing show. They talked about, I used to be a banker, and Alligator, I didn't go to school, so I didn't learn Keynesian, which is true. Well, you don't really learn when you're taught Keynesian economics, you don't learn anything. It's so confusing. You have no idea what the hell you were taught. Austrian economics is a whole different ball game as I teach you, and I think you're pretty happy that I'm here and you learn it, because I teach it to you at a very low level, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Today's grocery store day. I need to go get my dark chocolate and my avocados I ran out of. So I go to Walmart for that because it's much cheaper. I went to the grocery store yesterday and I was going to buy a steak, and the steaks were like $13. So I thought about a roast. So I might buy a roast tomorrow and make it for the weekend because, it's like $8 a pound versus a steak, which is $14, $15 a pound. And to me, meat's meat, and I put it 70 minutes in the oven. But I can't get, Chinese is closed for like a week for Memorial Weekend. And that leaves you, what do I make for dinner? What do I have Saturday and Sunday for dinner? So I think a roast sounds pretty good. I haven't had a roast in a while. We'll see. So that's what we're going to do. Or at least it's what I'm going to do. But I went yesterday and I ended up buying a pound of salmon. It's like it was on sale for like $10, $11 a pound. A lot of that's the freight and the shipping of the salmon. That's why it's more expensive. And so I'm gonna cook that, I think, for dinner tonight. And salmon's so easy to cook. You just put some olive oil on it and some lemon, salt and pepper, and then maybe some French dressing, and then just in 10 minutes you got your salmon. And it's a good meal. Tastes good. It's very healthy. Anyway, so I went to the store for that yesterday, and I picked up. There wasn't much to pick up. I picked up my olive oil. For some reason, this grocery store has my olive oil much cheaper than at Walmart's or at Meijer's. It's like $25 a bottle, but they sell it for $19. Now they had it on sale, buy one, get one free, but you had to pay $30 for it. But I'm still thinking, well, that's $15 a bottle, which I normally would have paid $19. But now it's not even $19. Now it's buy one. Now I didn't realize that I could have bought one for $15 because it rings up one at $15 as opposed to two. But I know I'm going to go through the olive oil, so I don't mind buying two of them because now because I use it. I just had it with my lemon juice in the morning, and then I cook with it, and I go through the bottles fairly quickly. Probably in a month, I'll go through them. And they're big bottles. They're like 32-ounce bottles. Anyway, why I'm on that subject, I have no idea, but it just wandered in. So this is what we must understand, that comex is a joke, and yet you get a little bit scared. I don't know if they were trying to chase people out of gold. Oh, gold's going down, let's sell it. I try to keep everybody calm, going, just give it time, it'll go back up, which is what's happening today. But we do it because the dollar's going out and you need to buy gold, and you'll do it at whatever cost it is. It could be 5,000 an ounce. We're buying quarter ounces, right? That's 1,200. Fine. I'll buy a couple of quarter ounces. I can't afford an ounce for $5,000. I'll buy quarter ounces. It's fine. It doesn't matter as long as you have gold. So Egon and Alligator didn't think they would compensate the gold, but what they thought was they would compensate your dollars in the bank and your stocks and limit what you can get out of the bank. Because there's definitely it's a disaster already starting to happen. And you saw it in China when I show you the Chinese videos, and they can only get like 5,000 yuan out of the bank. I got a million yuan in the bank, and you can't get it. And I think that's what's coming here, because they just do what China did. As far as the tariffs creating this mess is bullshit. Like, they know what's causing it. The one thing that concerns me is Larry Fink was with Trump in Saudi Arabia. So I believe that trip, and Qatar, Trump selling weapons, because I saw what they were buying, and it was like a lot for military, for the weapons. So it's still the military complex running, even though Trump's the president, he has no power or control. It's all the military complex. I wonder who's behind all that. I doubt it's Larry Fink. Wouldn't surprise me if it's the Russians or the Chinese are behind the military conflict. Hard to say, but George Soros, possibly. One of those type of guys, because they all are afraid and they all keep buying weapons. Let's have a war to get out of, and as stupid as they are, they think war gets you out of a recession. And they go, how? Well, it creates jobs. It's like creating government jobs. It doesn't. Yeah, somebody needs to buy the weapons. and nobody who's got money for it. Oh, Qatar's got money. Saudi Arabia's got money to buy him. I mean, Saudi Arabia doesn't need it because Russia protects them now. We used to, but we fucked that up with Clinton. Or yeah, I'm sure Obama and I'm sure Clinton and I'm sure Biden fucked up Saudi Arabia. But anyway, so we really don't know the real price of gold and silver, but we know it's much more than it is. So that's why we buy it, and it's the only out. So keep that in mind. Hey, David. Well, the Celtics was a good bet. Again, it's they had to win, and the Knicks didn't have to win. Basically, um, it's a lot of psychology. The playoffs, like tonight, OKC won Game 5. They had to win at home, and they won. They covered. Now Game 6 is in Denver. Denver has to win, and OKC can lose and still be in the thing and wait for Game 7. So the bet tonight would be on Denver. You're going to bet Denver to because it's a must win, and they got that Jokic guy, whoever he is. I never heard of these guys, and they've been playing him tough anyway. So being Game 6, a must win game, and OKC can lose, you would think Denver is a good play tonight if they win or not, but they're getting 5 or 6 points, so they can cover. But Boston, again, who is this Jack Tatum guy and how meaningful is he to the team? And, apparently not too meaningful because they blew out the Knicks with guys I've never heard these guys anyway. I don't see Bird and McHale on the score sheet. And so they had to win. Their back was against. That's the point of the back against the wall. If they don't win, they lose the series. But the Knicks can lose and now go home for Game 6, I believe, at home. And now the pressure's on New York. They have to win. Otherwise, they go back to Boston for Game 7, and they don't want to. So the Knicks would be the play the next game. But now I would guess Boston would be favored. But now, as we see, Jack Tatum's injury didn't matter at all. So apparently he was holding them back because he got hurt and they won. They blew him out. But that's what you're expecting the whole series. How did they lose 3 games? And then they can do this in Game 5. It's very curious. All these big guys shoot threes these days. Isn't that ridiculous? Could you imagine Wilt or Kareem, Bill Walton shooting 3-pointers? They'd have been on the bench. I mean, first of all, Kareem with the sky hook, you couldn't stop it. What was the problem with that? Why aren't they all shooting sky hooks? If Kareem learned it, and then what are they doing? Why do you want a big man shooting a 3-point shot? Who's going to get his rebound? Who's going to get anybody's rebound? That's the thing of the big man. You got Wilt underneath the basket, and Jerry West takes a shot and he misses. Well, Wilt grabs the rebound. If Wilt's at the 3-point line, then he can't grab the rebound. So it's the coaching in all the sports is done by monkeys. I mean, that's why you can't find shit. Sorry, I just froze, so I hope I don't have the internet issue. Please bear with me. I know it's been weird today. It took me 3 times to get on. I kept being like, "Oh, try again." Oh, and then it froze on me. So I don't know if it's YouTube, if it's my computer. I don't know what it is. But we'll see. Hopefully I won't get killed, and I don't think I am yet. Or did I? Did I lose 2 people? But why do you want a big guy shooting 3 and a little guy getting the rebound? I mean, the little guys are better at shooting anyway. That's known. These Europeans might be better at 3. This Jokic and who is the big guy just went from Milwaukee to San Antonio? I don't want him shooting 3s. If he's shooting 3s, he's on my bench. But I'm a real coach. I want them under the basket. I want them learning a sky hook. I want them looking on moves. Fucking Bill Laimbeer could score inside. Chris McHale, Bird, Kareem, Wilt. That's the big guy. And how you get away from that, I have no idea. But terrible coaching, terrible system, and it's all analytics. Well, you get more points for a 3-point shot than a 2. Oh, so I want my 7-footer to shoot 3-pointers. And what game is that you would do that in? I mean, that's the stupidest thing. That's like that's 4th and 2. We could kick a field goal to tie the game up, Lions, but we won't. We'll just go for it because the analytics say, except for against the 49ers, we're probably not going to make it. We can't run. We're going to throw. And when we throw, guess what? Geez, the guy dropped the ball or the pass was short because Goff's a choke. And, and we lost by 3 because we were too stupid to kick the tying field goal, which everybody would have done. Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells, Lombardi, anybody who had a brain in his head would have kicked the field goal. They just unbanned Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. I never understood why they're banned in the first place. Pete Rose, first of all, never, of course, they're dead, right? Pete Rose never bet against the Reds, he says. I'm not sure why he was so stupid that he made the bets himself. I would have told my cousin or my brother or my kid or Fast Freddy at the bowling alley to make the bets for me. And they never would have found out. I don't know why he's this stupid that he would make his own bets. But the way it is now, I was watching something on YouTube on sports gambling. I'll show you a little clip of that, and it's ridiculous that it's all associated with sports betting. And these are professional gamblers, although I don't know why I wasn't included. Big loss for the show. They you don't know. It's my theory that you don't know what the odds are. That's what I warn you about when you bet on player props and in-game parlays and that. You don't know what the odds are. If we bet the team, it's 11-10, right? We take the Steelers -3, it's 11-10. We take over 48, it's 11-10. We know what that odd is, and that's okay. But when it's how many yards will Franco Harris get and will they win, and how many yards will Lynn Swann get, ends up being, how do you know what the odds are? Well, we'll give you 10-1. The odds might be 50-1. Or how about the money line when you're laying 10 grand, but on the other hand, you're getting 1,400? Wait a minute, you want me to lay 10 grand on Alabama -30 to win, but if I take New Mexico State because they have Dagiapava and I'm not getting 10 grand, I'm getting only 1,400. You want to make that bet? You think that's a good bet? What is it with people that have to do money lines in football? I can't lay 7. I got to play money line. I want to make sure I win, so I don't want to spread. What is that? And this is what they were talking about. A lot of people that don't know what they're doing. They want the action. They make the bet. They're clueless. Why do you need money lines? Oh, because that's what you see on BetMGM, and you see it on FanDuel and all these other ones, is you see them betting money lines. Bet the money line, bet the parlay, bet how many yards Franco Harris will get. Who gives a fuck? When I watched the Steelers in the 70s, I didn't care or never would have bet how many yards Franco got or Swann or any of them. I would have bet on Bradshaw to throw 2 interceptions. He's in my Dak Prescott group. Yeah, he was terrible. Jesus. They won despite him. That's why you watch the Minnesota Super Bowl, their first one, they ran the ball like every time. It was like, we can't trust Bradshaw. Not until they got Swann and Stallworth, who basically made up for his lack of skill. But Pete Rose, stupid enough to bet himself, but according to what he said, he only bet on Cincinnati. Well, I have no problem with that because now in today's game, all these games are fixed. I don't know what's a right game. But if he bet on Cincinnati and he's a Cincinnati manager, I got no problem with that. He says, I knew we were going to win. I said, yeah. Well, they were probably playing a weak team with a bad pitcher, and he had his ace going like I do. And I tell you, that's the best bet. There you go. That's what you should do. So if the manager, he knows he's going to win the game. So why not bet on it? Now, you'd think he would have had millions of dollars being such a good player that did he really need to bet on his team? Baseball. I mean, how much is he betting? I mean, 100,000 a game. So, but he said he only bet on Cincinnati. So I don't know why he was banned for gambling. But yet now they're associated with FanDuel and BetMGM. Like, and from what I understand, it's like these play the game in Europe and play the game in Brazil to get more money in. And I think that's what they want, a piece of the pie of the gambling. So they're associated with them to get a piece of it. And then it leads to all these player props are bullshit. You don't know what your odds should be. I don't know why you bet them. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because I don't really have trends on how many carries, Franco Harris is going to get, or how many yards he's going to get. And if you're playing against the Steelers, all those bets would be under. If this was 1974 and Oakland's playing Pittsburgh and there's Marv Hubbard, 50 yards under. Charlie Smith under 20 yards. None of them are going to get yards. And then you get that ice game, the second championship game in Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh won on that Swan catch, on the Stallworth catch, to get to the second Super Bowl. I mean, with that defense, and it was the whole field was ice, everything would have been an under. Unbelievable. All right. In 2027, they will vote on a panel. What if the members of the panel don't like him? Well, that's why it's a joke. It should just be on stats. Oh, you got 4,000 hits. You're in the Hall of Fame. Oh, Barry Bonds, you got 780 home runs or whatever. You're in the Hall of Fame. They should not be in it. Shoeless Joe Jackson, for a guy that supposedly was in on the, it's not that he necessarily was bribed and played for the money. He was just associated with it, which is a joke. So I didn't quite understand that. That whole ruling was just stupid. But again, that's the market. You didn't want to pay the players, Comiskey, and so they could make money from the gamblers. But if you watch that movie, 8 Men Out, they're a bunch of idiots. Show me the money. You want me to not play? Like the one guy, Eddie Sykott, had it right. He says, I want 10 grand. I want it under my, before the first pitch. And he got paid. And the other guys, no, until you show me the money, I'm playing. And I would have fucked the gamblers up. But you want me, pay me. In the movie The Gambler, with James Caan and the basketball player, give me the money. I want you to give it to me. I don't want to hear a name, and I want it, before the game. And he paid him $5,000 in the early 70s. It was 73. And he paid him. And then the guy, threw the game. I would have bet the other way. I would have just said, go ahead. I mean, they could have beat him by 40 if they would have let the guy play. So sometimes you just don't understand the gamblers. 8 Men Out is a good movie. I don't know. I liked it, but John Cusack bothers me. It's a good movie to a point, but it's really stupid that the players would have thrown the game without getting paid. Give me the thing. But I did like the scope of the movie. I find if I watch a movie like 4 or 5 times, I start not liking it. First you're watching the movie and okay. And then you start like analyzing the scenes and you go, that's stupid. Why did they play if they didn't get paid? And, and you just keep, breaking it down like that. Why did they throw Shoeless Joe Jackson out? He hit 375 and didn't make an error. He didn't throw the game. Why did the other idiots do it? Why did Lefty in that last game when they were going to do his wife, why didn't he call the cops? Go to the owner and say, hey, I'm being threatened by the gamblers. Can you help me out? I wouldn't have pitched, and I wouldn't have thrown the game. I would have asked for help. I would have faked an injury. Let somebody else pitch who was actually going to try. Uh, that was my point. But yeah, why they would throw a World Series is really stupid. I mean, that whole concept is just stupid. Um, I don't get it, but I can see them throwing games now. Again, I thought Cincinnati was a fixed game on the 13th. Yesterday, my fixed game, the New York Mets, they did lose. And Oakland over 8.5. I think they won. I think they played a high scoring game. But it's less, it's harder to see a fixed game. But how does the manager do it in baseball? His lineup was a bunch of zero hitters. So Cincinnati only had 3 good hitters instead of the 6 they normally have. And then you're pitching to their 300 hitter. You got 300 hitter, 108, 110 after him. Why would you pitch to the 300 hitter? Walk him and then go after the guys hitting 120. That's how you get a fix is you're pitching to the 300. I notice they're all the guys getting the hits are the 300 hitters. You're like, why are you pitching to them when the rest of the team hits 120? So each team has like 2 or 3 good hitters and then 4 or 5 that suck. That's who you pitch to. That's how you beat them. You don't pitch to the 300 hitters. And yet the managers, well, analytically, I've got to pitch to them, and I can't pitch 3 times through the lineup. And yeah, the guy's got a no hitter. They can't even see the pitch, but I'm going to pull him. I played baseball, and when you got a pitcher you can't hit, you're like, fuck this. But when they pull him out, you're so happy. You don't care who it is. Cy Young could come out of the Sandy Koufax. It doesn't matter if you're trying to hit Sandy Koufax, and then they take him out for Ben Smith with his 4 ERA. You're so happy because you can hit him. You can't hit Koufax, and that's what these managers are doing. The guy's got a no hitter going. They pull him. Well, we don't want to get him. He's damn near. He's almost 100 pitches. You know how many pitches Koufax threw in his games? I would imagine 150, if that. Well, he's striking everybody out, but I don't think him or Bob Gibson or Nolan Ryan would have come out of the game anyway. They'd have killed the manager. They were just so dominant. But why would Ryan never? He pitched the whole game. Jack Morris. I mean, these guys. Today, there's no reason for it. They're trying to spin the ball. Who gives a fuck? The steroid area players should get into the Hall of Fame. Well, they should because it's legal. In the sport, it was legal, and in America, it was legal. They weren't doing anything illegal. If you want to really get nitpicky, Mantle shouldn't be in because he drank. I mean, if you really are, what's the difference between that and steroids? The alcohol hurt him more than steroids. And steroids didn't help Mark McGwire or Bonds or Sosa hit. Hand-eye coordination. Steroids don't help hand-eye coordination. They make you stronger, but so does lifting weights. So what? Who cares? They should all be in. How do you not have McGwire, Bonds, Clemens in the Hall of Fame and call it a Hall of Fame? How do you not have Pete Rose, the best hitter, 4,000 hits, not in the Hall of Fame and calling it a Hall of Fame? I mean, it's just a joke. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why the writers are voting him in the first place. There should be like a group, and they should elect based on statistics. Oh yeah, Pete Rose, 4,000 hits. Come on in. Clemens, Bonds. This should be automatics. This shouldn't be, and that's how it used to be. Mays and Mantle and those guys were automatic. If the writers had to vote them in, that's ridiculous. But I agree with you. I think it's just stupid. Anyway, so let's go through baseball as long as we're talking about yesterday's games. I think I went pretty well. Gold still 32-19. What a happy day. What a pretty sight. Now, we're still calling for $5,000, eventually $10,000 gold. But look at, does this, and then we'll get to baseball. Does this make any sense to you? So for the last 3 or 4 days, it went from 30 I think it was 33. It was 3,400. Went down to 33.30, 33.40. It goes all the way down to 31. You can see here 31.20. Okay, what the fuck's going on? And now it's 32.20. It just went up $100. I don't know why they call it 32. It was 30. It was 31 and change yesterday. So what's going on? Why is there $100 move from 2 a.m. to we're only at noon? In 10 hours, it moved up $100. What the fuck is that? I mean, this is just it's just retardo. It's and you want to have faith in the gold price being right. I'm telling you, you're out of your mind. Comex is fixed. It's obvious. We see that. We know that. Excuse me. And I just explained why. It's the derivatives. They're making money on the derivatives. That's all it is. It's a side game where they don't care what they don't care what the real price is. They only care can they do the derivatives. So they ran it down. They did the sell, so you could sell first and then buy. Drove it down to 31.19 as I just showed you, and now all the buyers are coming out. Okay, now let's buy. We can make money buying it. They don't care about the price. They just care 33 down to 31, and then 31 will go back to 33, and they all make money on the derivatives. I don't really know how they work. Like in trading places, they sold at 142 and they bought at 26. I'm sure there was a lot. It wasn't one contract, but many, and they made it. And the Duke and Duke went bankrupt, buying at even at 120, and then they never really sold it. So I'm sure there's a lot of money to be made there, but there's a lot more money in gold. And again, they're still in dollars. So what happened, I don't know. Hey, Professor, I see gold is on a nice little this morning. Nice little run. Yeah, it's back up 100. And that's what I'm just discussing is why did it go down? And then now why is it back up? And what's the real price? Because the real price ain't close to this. But you can see how it's manipulated, but it's okay. We understand it. So when it goes down, we don't panic. We get a little antsy going, how far is this going to go? I didn't think I would see any 3100s anymore. Once we saw 3400s, it should just keep going up. But that's the difference between free market and this bullshit paper market. So in the paper market, and that's why I differentiate it, the paper market, you can see these things, but nobody sold an ounce of gold. From what I understand, China and India buy a lot of jewelry. So there's always huge demand for gold. But it's just a game. It's just, they're just selling the short. They're just shorting. They're just doing options, shorting and then buying them and going long. And that's all it is. So nowhere was a ton of gold sold. So put it that way. All right. So let's look at basketball. We got Oklahoma City and Denver. We got OKC minus 4.5. We've got Oklahoma City leads the series 3-2. Denver's been playing good with the Jokic guy with the 3-point shooting, which is unbelievable. So I got to take Denver tonight. They're getting 4.5. It's elimination game for them. They're at home. They will play well. They have beaten them twice. OKC, I don't know. Are they chokes? They got 68 wins. They don't look like a 68-win team. So I like Denver plus the 4.5. It should be a close game because Oklahoma City doesn't have to win it. They can lose, and it's game 7 in Oklahoma City, on Saturday. So because they don't need to win it, but Denver loses, they're out, then everything goes on. Denver will play their best game. OKC doesn't really care. They might even rest some guys. Okay, we'll lose this game and win game 7. So the play here is Denver plus 4.5. If we look at yesterday, Boston had to win. what they're doing down 3-1, and then Jack Tatum really had no effect on them. As they win by 25. This is the first game of the series they actually won handily. So 127-102. Again, because their backs, they couldn't afford to lose or they'd lose the series. Cleveland didn't matter. They weren't very good and they still lost and they had some injuries. Yesterday we had Minnesota because Steph Curry was out and they might have Steph Curry back if they went to a game 6. And so Minnesota had to win and finish the series, and they win and covered. They win by 11. So there you go. So take Denver in the 4.5. All right, let's go to Major League Baseball. And let's go through yesterday's. All right, game 1, Minnesota 6, Baltimore 3. We have Minnesota, a W. Game 1, Philadelphia, St. Louis. We take Philly. They win 2-1. Milwaukee, Cleveland. Milwaukee wins 9-5. We have Milwaukee. So we start off pretty good. We got the 49ers over 8.5, and they lose, but 8-7, which is why we don't bet the 49ers, but why we bet the over. Two kind of weak pitching teams, good hitting, and they score 15 runs. We needed 8.5. So that was our 2 unit. That wins. We got the Yankees over 8. And they win, but they win 3-2. Again, the pitching, we didn't know who the pitchers were. We knew who the pitchers were, but they hadn't pitched before. Seattle doesn't hit much. The Yankees, they're not scoring runs. I'm not going to bet them over for a while. I think I bet them over because they did play an over game the night before. Seattle, Yankees under 7.5 won. So I don't know why I took the Yankees over 8. I think it was just bad pitching. Both pitchers were kind of weak. But again, pitchers with ERAs of 4 and 5, and then you get a 3-2 game. What the fuck is that? That's why they have bad ERAs, because they can't get anybody out. They're not good pitching, and you should hit the hell out of them. Philly over 8 in game 2, and it's a football game. St. Louis wins 14-7. Barkley did get a touchdown for Philly. 14-7. We're over 8. Another big win, over 8. The Niners, and now Philly over 8. Detroit, we go under 7 because Scooble's on the mound, and Boston's got a pretty good pitcher. 6-5. Now you got to wonder how good Scooble is, because this is the 3rd or 4th game where he's given up. They played high-scoring games, and you're thinking, I'll play him or not. So he looks pretty weak. The whole pitching staff of Detroit's now pretty weak. Look at them over a lot now. They can hit, even though their manager's retarded. Oh, he's hitting 300, but he's left-handed. Oh, they brought out a lefty. I'm going to pinch hit with this righty who's hitting 110 because he has a better chance of getting hit than my lefty who hits 300. There's something wrong there. You don't pinch hit a 300 hitter for a 100 hitter. Ever. I mean, it's stupid. I guess if you had another, or why don't you just have Mickey Mantle? He can hit from both sides of the plate. What the fuck are you doing, pinch hitting your 300 hitters for your one? And he's doing it all the time, and it doesn't work. So Detroit does win 6-5, but not the under that you would expect with Scooble. So I'm off him for the unders. Toronto over 8. They win 3-1. Ryan Peepop 2-5 with a 3.93, gives up the 3 runs. I don't know. They didn't hit, and I'm also seeing where I'm marking down like, the Yankees have 4 hitters that are over 2, let's say call it 265, and they got 3 hitters under 230. And then I look at the box score. Where's the 4 hitters hitting over 300? Why are there now 6 hitters hitting under 210? or 200. What's going on? So there's some injuries, and the managers seem to think they can win batting guys who are hitting 110. If I'm the manager, those guys they're not seeing the field. They're in the minor leagues. If I have that authority, if I choose my players, I'm going to USC and UCLA and Arizona, and I'm drafting guys who are hitting 350 in college. I don't want these high school guys because you have no idea, because they're playing high school kids. You have look at football. You go from high school where you're good, and then you get into college and you suck because the competition. So drafting a high school guy in baseball could be the stupidest thing you could ever do. It'd be like not buying gold. All right, the Mets, this I have as a fixed game. Clay Holmes with his 2 ERA loses 4-0. The question is, how does this pitcher for the Pirates shut out the Mets? And the Mets have 5 hitters, and he shuts them out. So Pittsburgh wins 4-0. I had the Mets for 2 as a fixed game, so this is a fixed game. Clearly, Pitt to win 4-0. Let's take a look at the box score just for shits and giggles. I have the Mets with 5 hitters and 2 bad hitters. But let's see what actually happened. I looked at this last night. So Lindor leads off 297, but then you got Ventos hitting 245, batting second. And then you got Alonso hitting 311. So you have your 300 hitters playing, but here's where it gets interesting. Your 4th hitter, Nemo, is hitting 226. Your 5th hitter, Marte, is hitting 203. What the fuck are you doing? You bet your 4th and 5th hitters who can't hit 225, you're batting them there. Then you got Torrens, the catcher, 247. Then you got Taylor, the center fielder, 228. Then you got your second baseman, center fielder. I guess the second baseman's hitting 271. And your right fielder is hitting 278, but he got pinch hit for at 244. So your 270 hitters are batting 8th and 9th. So you got Lindor and Alonso, and then you got 226, 203, 247, 228, 233, and then your 270 hitters. What the fuck are you doing? But then let's look at it from the other standpoint. Pittsburgh, 221, 254 McCutchen, 194, a 272 cleanup hitter, then 210, then 283. Then 211, 091, and 167. And you gave up a home run to the 211 hitter and the 167 hitter. You gave up 2-run homers to those. You held McCutchen to 1 of 3. I can't argue here. You pitched to the guys who hitting 211, goes 1 for 4. To 090, you got a guy 091 batting 8th, and you got 167 batting 9th. How the fuck are you giving up 2-run homers to a guy hitting 167? Are you insane? How could you do this? It just blows my mind. Well, let's see. What did you do with your pitchers? Clay Holmes. It's 4 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 3.14 ERA. It wasn't with that when it started. See, this is the problem. You only pitched 6 innings. You give up 4 runs in 6 innings with a 2-something ERA. That's not good. That's because it's 9 innings. So it's really his ERA for this game was 6 because it's 4 runs in 6 innings. And then you go to your bullpen and you're fine. A 180, and then Nunez comes in, down 4 runs in the 9th, and with a 10 ERA, what is he doing on the team? How do you have somebody in your bullpen pitching with a 10-1-3 ERA? So, again, it makes no sense. The Bailey Falter, the Pirate pitcher with a 4.02 ERA, Goes 3 innings, gives up 3 hits and no runs, 5 walks. You're expecting to score on him, and you didn't score on Falter because you're a wonderful batting lineup. So that's how you get a fixed game. Is there's not only your lineup, but then you're pitching to their you're pitching to their star player. But they didn't do that either. So I won't call this a fixed game, but it's really weird because the Mets were a 250 favorite. All right, Cincinnati under 9. The White Sox beat them, but 4-2. So that's a winner. We've got Washington, Atlanta over 9. It's 5-4. So that's a 9. Miami and the Cubs. I got the Cubs over 7.5. Two good hitting teams. 3-1 Miami. How do the Cubs score 1 run at home? And I go over 7.5, and you can't score. Texas. Oh, that was a winner. That was a 2-unit. Texas wins Colorado 8-3. I think we can just bet against Colorado. Houston, KC. We had KC. Houston wins 4-3. San Diego 5-1. We have San Diego. That was a good bet. 5-1. And then Oakland and the Dodgers. That was a winner. The Dodgers win 9-3. We got Oakland over 8.5. So our bets: Frisco over 8.5, 2 units win. The Mets, 2 units lose. Cubs over 7.5. Where's the hitting? They lose. We hit Texas. We hit San Diego, and we hit Oakland over 8.5. So altogether, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2. So not a bad day. This Oakland team, you got to be careful. They can hit the fuck out of the ball. They got 6-7 hitters. They got 6 hitters and only one guy hitting under 225. So you don't know Oakland, but now I don't know if they're playing at home in a small ballpark, and that's why they're hitting. I don't really care, but the Dodgers can hit the ball. So it was a beautiful, and it was only 8.5. I mean, that was sweet. So good day yesterday. Let's see what we do today. Look at this. Washington Atlanta games already started. Seriously? Oh, yeah, we got these early games. All right. Washington Atlanta is in the bottom of the first 0-0. We can't play that one. We got 10 minutes, Minnesota and Baltimore. We got Baltimore minus 135 and 9. Chris Paddock 1-3, 4.76. Tamago Sugani 4-2 with the 2.72. Mini won both. What's been happening is, so you'll go and the guy's got a 2.72 ERA, but then you see he only pitches the first inning or the first 3 innings. And he's walked a bunch of guys, but he hasn't given up a lot of runs, and they pull him in the 3rd or 4th inning. And then you're betting the bullpen, but you have no idea because you don't even know. There's too many guys in the bullpen who they're going to come out with. So out of this, I'm going to go under. I'm going to go Baltimore under 9. No bet though, but that's it. The White Sox and the Reds. The White Sox, I think, have won the first 2 games. Cincinnati, again, 235, over under 9. Bryce Wilson for the White Sox, 0-1 with the 4.88. Nick Martinez, 1-4 with the 4.23. Why is Cincinnati a 235 favorite with Nick Martinez, 1-4 with the 4.23? Doesn't make any sense. I'm going to play this game under because the White Sox do not hit. I'm not going to bet it, but there you go. I can't bet on the White Sox, yet they've won the first 2 games. I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox won, and it's a 235. I wouldn't be surprised if it's fixed. Tampa Bay, Toronto minus 185.8. Zach Littell, 2-5 with a 4.40. Kevin Gausman, 3-3 with the 3.97. Pretty good pitching matchup. Little edge to Gausman. Not much. Over under 8. It was an under yesterday. They're not hitting. It's confusing because they both have hitters. They both should hit. And neither of these pitchers are there. So I'm going to go, I'll try it again, Toronto over 8. It's such bad baseball now that there's too many guys hitting under 200. And yet the managers tend to pitch to the guys hitting 300, not pitching to the guys hitting 140. So you just don't understand. Managers are just a bunch of idiots. So let's try this one. Over 8 seems to make sense. Tampa, Toronto with 7 hitters and Tampa with 4. Toronto should win based on that, but we'll see. We had Toronto over 8 yesterday, and they was 2-1. Excuse me. All right, a new series. Houston goes to Texas. Texas 130-70. My man, Hunter Brown, 6-1 with the 148. Ooh, against Jacob DeGrom, 3-1 with the 272. I was all excited to bet Hunter Brown. Now we're gonna lock it. We're gonna lock Texas under 7, and we're gonna go 4 units. Perfect under the ace Hunter Brown, 6-1 with a 148, but then you got DeGrom, 3-1 with the 272, who's pitching really well. So it's just simply where they're going to get runs. Total 7, they won't be close. As long as these guys pitch into the 6th, 7th inning, it'll be under. But then I've been seeing the aces just give up. 5 runs. Like at Schoolboy yesterday, gave up 5 runs in 3 innings or whatever. So you're not always going to get the 8, but that's why you just got to play this and play it every time you get this. And it's going to lose a few times, but maybe it goes 10-2. So you're going to have your 2 losers, but you're going to have your 10. This is exactly what you're looking for, because they can stop the shitty hitting when you got your aces on the mound. So this is a perfect one. Let's go under. And that's all. And then one more. Oakland at the Dodgers. The Dodgers again are big favorites, 200. I don't know why, with the total of 10. Oswald Cobblepot, 2-3 with the 4.75 for Oakland. Matt Sawyer, 1-0 with the 1.54 ERA. But is he a reliever? He's only pitched 1 game. Or he's pitched 4 games, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk in 4 games. An inning and 2/3, 5, 4, and 1. So he's more of a reliever. So it's not like this guy's going 7 innings. So again, we're going to take Oakland, and again over 10. And again, this will be 2 units. Oakland over 8.5, won yesterday. Oakland over 9.5, won the day on the 3rd to whatever, Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday. Today's the Thursday, right? Yeah. So that's what we got. So Oakland, this series has been going over, so that's good. Oswald Cobblepot, 2-3 with a 4.75. Ain't gonna. The Dodgers will hit the shit out of them, but Oakland, they're gonna hit. And this Sowers around for 2 innings, and then the bullpen, and they're not going to stop Oakland. And that's it. That's all the games I could find. And we've already got Washington, Atlanta has already started. Nothing in the second. And Minnesota, Baltimore starts in 12:35, and the White Sox Reds at 12:40. But the big bets are tonight: the Houston, Texas, Oakland, LA. So that's it. Basketball, Denver backs against the wall at home, must win. OKC can lose. How good's OKC? I don't know. From what I hear, they're young, so they got to get used to playoff basketball and used to the pressure and they're going to get the crowd noise tonight. I'd be shocked if OKC wins, but we'll see. All right. Still waiting to hear on the Ford job I interviewed last Friday that there'll be another phone interview. We'll have to watch this one later. The 6 dangerous people says you must avoid. Pretty much you got to avoid everybody, and there's very few people you should talk to. very stoic here. You don't owe anyone an explanation. I like that. Interesting. This Yankee Doodle Dandy guy, he's an idiot. Gold will never go over 2,500. So I'll have to watch this, but he's always full of shit. I wouldn't watch this normally. Notice from FBI. What are they noticing him? Is he not doing 1099s or something? Tim says he did get visited by the FBI the same way he would have said he had a pizza delivery. Scammers doing this to our elderly is as low as they can go. We much watch out. So I guess he got scammed. So something to do with scammers and seniors. So the FBI didn't come to hurt him. They came because of some scam, probably saying he's scamming him. The agent visited Tim because he's the coolest gold and silver down the East Coast, needing a rock solid gold and silver purchase. That doesn't say why. There are more scams out there now than at any point. Take care of the elderly. I don't get it. Really nice. So the FBI came to him. See, you make it think like he did something wrong. Well, it was constructive for a change about scamming. Okay, so we don't care about this guy. He's a moron. All right, so here's something on sports betting for us sports bettors. It's 26 minutes. I'm not going to play it. I'll just try to get to I'm going to play, but just a little bit of it. I thought it was.
And that's going to end the game. And you know why I'm laughing, don't you? Yeah. Of course you do.
In just a few short years, how did we go from broadcasters making subtle references to gamblers?
There are some people happy, some not so happy.
There are some going, I can't believe what just happened.
So the spread must have been 6.
Super dope partner, the biggest parlay I've ever hit. Well, it's a funny story. To me, this isn't just research or something that's academic. I mean, it's something I grew up around. I've been around it my whole life. I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas, which once upon a time was America's gambling capital. Long before Vegas was
in the 1800s?
Vegas in the United States. I grew up in a town where there was a bookie on the Chamber of Commerce. I grew up going to the racetrack.
My bookie's at the bowling alley.
On the weekends. It wasn't something that I saw as being some sort of behavior that was pathological or taboo. That's just what we did for fun. And it wasn't until I was able to leave that place and travel a bit to realize that not everybody in America thought about it the same way, especially not in the 80s and 90s. I mean, Pete Rose was a big deal.
Mr. Rose has accepted baseball's ultimate sanction, which is lifetime ineligibility.
Did you bet on your own team?
Yes.
There's a name for it, gambling on
Who said, did you bet against your own team?
Gaming. It's clandestine, immensely profitable, and entirely illegal, except in the state of Nevada.
I bet just about every week, yeah, on the football games.
A couple of dollars makes the game more interesting.
Today, if you want to bet on a game, you can log on to any one of these apps, and there's literally tens of thousands of different bets that you can make on any given day. There's just a fire hose of bets that are sprayed directly into your face. And that's not how it always used to work. If you made a legal regulated bet in Nevada, you had to walk into a sports book, probably in a casino like Caesar's Palace. There was a small menu of things that you could choose from and bet on. You could bet what's called a side, which is picking which side in a game would win, or you could bet on a total, which is betting that the total number of points scored in a match would be over or under a certain number.
It's a game,
You
not a
could bet some
match.
futures, like what team will win the championship in certain sport this year. But that's pretty much it. The idea that you could bet on literally tens of thousands of things every day would have been outrageous back then. That's because the sports books in places like the Stardust in Las Vegas, they operated as amenities to the customers. Casinos only had sports
Isn't that a
books in order
beautiful
to bring
sight?
in customers who wanted to bet on the game and hope that they would stay in the casino and gamble on other things. In that sense, it sort of operated as a loss leader for the casino and was subsidized or bankrolled by the rest of the casino. Today, a lot of the sports books that we bet with in America don't have casinos bankrolling them. That puts a lot of pressure on the sports book to make money through sports bets. This can be confounding and frustrating for the shareholders of these publicly traded companies when the CEO has to come to a earnings meeting and tell them that all the favorites covered this season.
While we experienced the most customer-friendly stretch of NFL sport outcomes we've ever seen early in the fourth quarter, which pressures our revenue and adjusted EBITDA in the short term, the overall trajectory of our business is strong.
Customer-friendly stretch of NFL outcomes is code for the bettors won too much.
Just last night, Bengals make that two-point conversion, and that last touchdown doesn't go in for a fourth parlay.
Totally
Very different
interference.
outcome. So, things can swing either way.
Understood. Looked like pass interference to me. Thank you very much.
Unlike a lot of businesses in America, the interests of the business
You should have kicked the extra point.
here are incredibly diametrically opposed. And so that means that in order for a sports book to make more money, they have to win more money, which is to say that you have to lose more money. That, I think, is a far more problematic dynamic that exists with the expansion of sports betting right now, the relationship between the customer and the provider. I think that creates a relationship to this activity that's a lot different than what the relationship between the bettor and the bookie used to be. The earliest sports in America were...
Well, I think you're right, Prophet. I think they only showed that he bet on his team. They never, like you saw the question, did you bet on the team? They never, where was the question, did you bet against your team? That didn't come up. That's probably why he was banned for betting against his team, because now you're affecting the outcome. Now when they fix these games, nobody cares because there's too much money involved by FanDuel and BetMGM and everything. So if everybody's betting the Raiders, for example, or everybody's got Marcus Allen to rush for 100 yards, then they'll fix it because they're going to lose a lot of money if Marcus Allen gets 100 yards or if the Raiders win the Super Bowl or things like that. There's too much money on it, so they will have them lose. And that's what they do now because they can track the money. That's how that one guy got arrested, because he would sit out the game. So he'd bet a ton of money. He was a bench player, a basketball player, and he'd bet against himself. Like his points would be 7, and he'd fake an injury. And, you'd play a minute, fake the injury, sit out the rest of the game, and he would have bet under, and the under came in. And that's really what's triggering it. You cannot have, because then it becomes like the gambler movie where, okay, you can win, but you can't win by more than 7. And so he threw the game. And that's what you got to worry about, is these players seeing their stats and then going, oh, I won't score 20 today, or I'll make sure I get more than 20. Mostly they go under because they can easily miss or pass the ball versus what if they get cold? So I think you see a lot of that here. But this is pretty interesting. So
literally just foot races. Those foot races were put together by gamblers for the purposes of betting on. I mean, up until about 1950, the most popular sports in America are baseball, horse racing, and boxing. And baseball really only started to grow in popularity in America when gambling was outlawed at the horse races. And so the bookmakers would start taking bets on ball games from the stands. So we see this sort of cycle where sports in America have really grown in popularity and become a bigger part of American culture because people could figure out how to gamble.
Bet on them now at 9-1.
There's always been this question about the morality of it and how much betting on it has a corrupting influence on the sport. But what we know is that even when gambling is prohibited, people have continued to do it. In some ways, gambling is as American as apple pie. There was this real anti-tax attitude among the original colonists, and the way they got around that was they implemented lotteries as sort of a voluntary tax, what's sometimes called a sin tax, was very attractive to government leaders who didn't want to tax people who didn't want to pay taxes, but wanted all these things, like that Simpsons episode about the Bear Patrol, where everybody wants things, but they don't want to necessarily pay for it.
Mr. Mayor, I hate to break it to you, but your city is infested with bears. Bear Patrol tax $5. What? This is an outrage!
Harvard and Yale were paid for by lotteries. Lotteries funded a lot of the American Revolution. So gambling has always been a part of the fabric of America, going right to the very beginning of America's founding. Most of us who are just regular recreational gamblers, we want to put a little bit at risk, but we like the idea or the promise that we could win a lot. And that's why lotteries are tremendously popular.
Record-breaking Powerball jackpot has reached $1.6 billion.
The chances of hitting the top prize are only 1 in 292 million. There is a chance.
If you're not in it, you can't win it.
Government has come to really depend on gambling revenues. I mean, we've got literally tens of billions of dollars in tax revenue from the local and state and federal level are collected from gambling all over the country. Today, there's brick and mortar casino gambling in 40 states, and there's some form of gambling in every state except for 2. Now they're looking at sports betting as being just the latest chapter in a way that they can create brand new tax revenues without having to raise more traditional taxes on people.
This kind of gaming used to be extreme.
See, it's funny how it's a tax. This is what I warn you about. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just paying a tax. That's why all the casinos are there, because we're going broke. And so they have all this FanDuel and everything just to raise taxes. Try to get to that 37 trillion. It's a terrible thing because most people, you have a few people in our class that we are sharps, we are elites, we know what the fuck we're doing, we can explain it, you can make money on it. But we're we're less than 1% of the population that knows how to gamble. We're also less than 1% of the people that understand gold. We're pretty rare, our whole little class here, because most people have no idea. That's what I say. They bet money lines like idiots. Like, okay, baseball you have to, but in football, I've never bet a money lines, and I've been betting since the late 60s. I've never bet a money line in my life, but that's where I found teasers, and I could go from 7 to 1 and get the 11 to 10 odds. It's far easier than betting a money line. And then the game loses, and your money line odds, who the hell knows if they're real? So you got to be careful. Again, if Vegas needs them to lose, they lose. So you bet 10 grand to win 100 on Alabama, and they lose. And you're like, how did that happen? Well, because it's fixed, and they needed the Alabama to lose. I mean, that's how they lose. When teams like that lose, that's why, because they have to lose, because there's too much money bet on them. And there's always money bet on Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan, way over USC than should be. And that's the problem. All right, back to this.
Taboo, but when you look at all the tax revenue possible, states legalizing this, there's some incentivizing.
It was a pretty easy pitch. They essentially went in and said, pass this bill, we'll open up in your state, and we'll give you all the money you need to do it.
In Montana, it goes to fund STEM scholarship funds. In Illinois, it's specifically directed to fund improvements to roads and schools. And in Colorado, it goes towards the state's water conservation plan.
For the
Sure it
longest time,
does.
the professional sports leagues in America were vehemently opposed to gambling in any way, shape, or form. The NFL wouldn't even let NBC advertise the show Las Vegas during NFL broadcasts on their network. That's how little they wanted to be associated with gambling. They didn't even want the network to advertise a television show that was set in Las Vegas on their football broadcasts. There was this feeling that being associated with gambling would somehow hurt the leagues and their credibility and their integrity.
I think we still strongly oppose in that room and otherwise legalize sports gambling. The integrity of our game is number one. We will not compromise on that.
It so happens that the state of New Jersey challenged the constitutionality of the federal ban.
What I was really fighting for was each state's ability to make their own choice.
The Supreme Court will allow states to legalize sports betting.
But first, legislation must be passed at the state level.
The first thing we saw was a pretty big marketing push.
You make so much noise. Here's a bonus bet for you and the boys. Hard rock and single in Florida. Hard rock and single in Florida.
The marketing was mostly geared towards young men.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those young men were people who were already had been playing what's called daily fantasy sports, but hadn't necessarily ever bet on sports before. I mean, the biggest stars that you can think of were being enlisted to be in sports betting commercials, to be spokespeople for sports betting companies, athletes. Even the leagues started to sign deals with sports books. They wanted a piece of the pie from the sports betting boom. And they said, if you're going to use our data to process bets and make odds or whatever you're going to do, you're going to pay us a big fee for it.
We think we should be compensated in certain ways for the additional costs we're going to incur through various integrity measures.
So the sports leagues immediately got involved and got into bed with the sports books right away. There was no hesitation at all once it was all legal.
The Supreme Court ruled, we have to adjust.
The Supreme Court made the decision. We've got to adjust to that.
I mean, now you can't go to a professional sporting event.
So why is the Supreme Court involved with sports betting? And then they want their cut. So what do you think happens when a team, all the money's going on one team? They get a little call from Don Corleone. You can win, but you can't win by more than 7. And this is the problem. And that these more and more of these games are fixed. As I'm trying to point out in baseball, Cincinnati is rolling over to whoever the fuck they're playing. The White Sox. They're losing to the White Sox. They get swept by the White Sox. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we're playing all our 100 and 110 batting average guys. We normally don't play them, but we're playing the White Sox, and our line is minus 300, so we have to lose. This is the problem. The integrity's gone. This is not who you be involved with, and why the Supreme Court's involved, I have no idea. And it should be a state issue, but it's just, this is very dangerous. What we do is fine. We bet on sports, but we're not calling the team saying, yeah, everybody bet on Atlanta. They got to lose tonight. This is where it becomes how legal is this?
These days without seeing ads for sports books all over the stadiums and arenas.
People are so upset at sports betting now. They're being forced the uncouth nature of it, and it's this infiltration of sports that is really frustrating people because people love sports and they want to be able to enjoy this innocently with their kids, with their friends, without being forced to watch. Charles Barkley told them about his parlay of the day.
Hey, never lost gambling.
Your record is 3 and 25.
That's my record for real? Yes, thank you, FanDuel. You dig it, dude? I'm going on a winning streak, brothers.
Some would call this wagering, gambling. I think the way you sold this, I think what it is risk-free investment. That's the way to look at it.
They're not professional bettors, but they're misrepresenting themselves as people who are experts in this industry when they really have no idea what they're talking about. Once again, furthering this idea that if you know about sports, you know about sports betting, which is why so many people lose money. They think they have an edge when they don't. And it's something that gambling companies prey upon. It's something that announcers reinforce, and it's a problem not only for kids, but for everybody betting on sports.
If I had to bet football as much as I know, I tell you what, in a year or so, I'd be living under a freeway overpass.
These new sports bettors today are especially susceptible to one of the worst bets you can make, the same game parlay.
Not only can you bet on the Yankees to win, but you can bet on the Yankees to win and Garrett Cole to have a certain number of strikeouts and Aaron Judge to hit a home run. And the products are a lot of fun. And in particular, what they allow people to do is risk a very small amount of money and win a very large amount of money all in one game.
These bets are incredibly lucrative for the sports books. Why? Because they're very hard to hit, but also they're very hard to calculate what the right price should be. When you start to add all these random, weird, correlated or negatively correlated events, the math to figure out what their fair becomes barely any of us can do it. So the sportsbook can then bake into those bets a very, very big margin.
See, that's what I keep trying to tell you. When you're playing a money line, look at Alabama. You lay 10,000 to win 100, but if you want the other team, you bet 100, you only win 1,500. Does that make any sense to you? At least if I bet the line, if I lay 3, I get 3. Pittsburgh -3 against Cincinnati. I'm either Pittsburgh -3 or I got Cincinnati +3. Money line, I'm laying 10 grand. Is that even the right odds? But I only get 1,400 the other way. And like the player props, like I'm saying, you don't know what the odds are. Franco Harris to get 45 yards. Is that good or bad? Who are they playing? Oh, they're playing the Raiders. Well, he ain't going to get that against the Raiders or anybody going against the Steelers, as I said earlier. You have no idea. You're not going to – Joe Green and those guys, you wouldn't get 20 yards running. Earl Campbell, I don't think he had positive yards in that championship game they played. That's Earl Campbell. There's no way you get 50 yards on him. So that's the problem betting. But then you don't know what the odds are. At least it's 11-10 to bet the game. We can analyze the game. We can determine, like we do in baseball, Oakland over 10. That seems like a good bet. And we know what the odds are. It's a good bet for us. We have no idea how many, it's like saying, well, like we had Freed the other day for the Yankees. It'd be like saying, we know it's going to be a low-scoring game. It was 2-1, so we won our lock. But the question, but you can, is he going to throw 50 strikes? And how many batters is he going to? Who the fuck knows? That's not part of the equation. It's part of the problem, as we say in Die Hard. We don't know, and so you're betting something you don't know what your odds are. And you don't know if it's a good bet or not, but you're making bad bets. And that's what I'm trying to warn you about. Just bet the fucking games. Don't get into this live and everything else because you don't know what your odds are.
Unders, you're in it every time they throw the ball, kick the ball, dribble the ball. Now that bet's got you watching every inning, half, round, period, set, hole, a lap.
A typical bet on whether a team will cover the spread, the type of bet that used to be the bread and butter of Las Vegas sportsbook or barroom bookies, would deliver a 5 to 6% return to the sportsbook. A single game parlay, by comparison, will typically return up to 30% to the sportsbook.
All my kids are addicted, and I shouldn't say addicted, I don't mean that. But when they like the wrong games, you know why? They like the parlays, and they somehow think that a parlay is easy. Could you please tell people how hard it is to win on a parlay?
Well, you don't win as much, but when you win more. And, that's kind of why people like it because, when they win, they get a big multiple on their money.
This makes these bets sort of the credit default swap of sports betting. It's sort of like that scene in The Big Short with the Jenga pieces. That's what these are. You're putting together a financial product that as you build these things up, it's worse and worse for you, right? The chances of you winning, but also how bad the bet you're making gets worse and worse. And this is a hard thing for people to understand because I think most Americans just assume every bet's a bad bet. The house always wins. Of course, whenever I make a bet, I'm supposed to lose. So
not with us.
What difference does it make? I'd rather get the biggest possible payout for the few times that I do win. And that's the problem with that thinking, which I think is very prevalent among gamblers in America today, is that it's not actually true in sports betting. In sports betting, you actually can win. And you actually can have an advantage and have the best of it when you're making your bets. Fundamentally.
That's a mindset. We play to win. I handicap and bet to win. I don't do it to play. A lot of people bet to play. They want action. It's fun. I don't care if I lose. As I told you in Vegas, sitting at Caesars playing poker, the guy, he gets all excited with a pair of ace. I got trip kings, and he's like, well, it's okay. I'm on vacation. I'm expecting to lose. I'm not. I'm there to win. And I played you like a fool because you showed me you're going to go all in, and I'm about to bet my trip kings, and then I check to you who makes the big bet, and then I got trip kings, and you lose because you're there to vacation. You are not there to win. I play to win. I figure all this shit out, which gives us a better opportunity to win. I'm just so much better at it in football. Baseball is extremely hard because of the variables and the managers with their head up their ass. But in football, we can bet Mahomes, we can bet Joe Burrow, we can bet Chase Jefferson, we can bet overs, and we can bet under. We can look for the Philadelphia and bet unders in most of their games. We can bet over in the Lions, Washington. We can figure out the team, and that's the team we're getting every Sunday or Thursday or so. Who God knows when they're playing. But that's what we got. We know who we're betting on. We're betting Mahomes, right? Take him as a dog. And that's the key. So you're always looking at that, but in baseball, you can't. But we figure out how to win because that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing is to win the bet, to make money at it. That's the point I do, and I do it very fucking well. But not just betting the bet like these guys doing. All right.
People should want sports books and betting on sports to be fair. And I don't know that it is fair right now. And I don't know that there's any real pressure being placed on sports books to be fair to their customers. Their marketing and what they advertise to people is that you can win and that you can win a lot of money.
All right, boys, who we betting on?
But the fact is that if you show any real ability to effectively handicap a game and beat the sports book, they will limit your bets and essentially kick you out of the sports book. They will not let you win. Can you talk to me a little bit about how sports books treat you once you start winning?
They don't want to accept your bets. If you're in a VIP program, either a VIP host will be nice and tell you, sorry, you've been limited, you're no longer wanted here. A lot of the time they'll just ghost you, which kind of sucks. But yeah, sportsbooks don't want to accept winning customers.
Can you tell me about what those VIP programs are like?
Oh yeah, I mean, they're great while you're in them. You get all sorts of perks, whether it's, deposit bonuses or profit boosts or free sports tickets, all of these things.
A lot of winning bettors do everything they can to hide their identity from the sports books, including bet under other people's accounts, so that the sports books don't know it's them.
Well, I have other friends who have accounts, and
I like this guy.
People put on, their action on my behalf, and I'll have a Google sheet that tracks P&L and payments and everything like that, and what's out where.
Sportsbooks have always profiled their players for people who are sharp or skilled bettors who can win long term. But as sports betting has grown in the United States, they have so many bets to manage, so many players.
You have almost an infinite number of choices that you can bet on.
At this point, bookmakers are computer programs and not people who are experts in their craft. They're operating at...
Aha, that's where we have the advantage. We are not computer programs. I'm doing this looking for the best way to win. That's why I don't understand a lot of the shit going on because it's all algorithms. And we take advantage of algorithms, and that's what they're doing on 4th and 2. And we're taking advantage of these idiots who aren't smart enough to really see what's going on and use the algorithms, including the coaches who sit there and go, oh, well, it's 4th and 2. We're supposed to go for it. Cost the Lions a Super Bowl trip. And they still haven't learned. But, this is the problem with these teams. I'm not impressed with that lady who runs whatever that was. I didn't get the feeling she knew how to gamble. It was she's a computer person or something. So I would bet against that stock. But that's what you're doing. What I do is I don't look at the fucking algorithms and I don't look at the numbers. I'm figuring out the score. So this is where we're way ahead. What do I tell you? Pick the score. Give me the score of the game. And I give you 30-27 in the Super Bowl. I thought KC would win, but for the over, it was perfect. And to take Philly in 7 was perfect. The teaser is what is our huge advantage. Nobody is thinking in teaser world but us. You can't win teaser. I'd rather bet the team and the total and how many catches somebody makes than tease it. That's why they go money line. Why are you going money line? It's a 2-point spread. You're going money line. Why would you go money line? You're a fucking idiot if you go money line because your odds aren't there. And you think they're only going to win by 1, then you got to bet the other team. I mean, so there's no way if a team's a 2-point favorite to take a money line. Lay the 2. You'll win it 99 times out of 100. If you bet and lay the 2 and they win, you're going to win it 99 times out of 100. The only time you lose is if they actually lose. Okay, but to play a money line on a 2 or 3, you got to be out of your fucking mind. Okay, I got to talk to Dari in a minute.
Such high volume and speed that it's easier just to boot the winners and keep the losers.
I would get these promotions because I was in their diamond VIP status, and they were talking about, when I make Onyx, I'll be able to get free tickets, etc. So I was excited about that, and I asked for tickets for a certain U.S. Open event. And he's like, if you make Onyx, I'll probably hook that up for you. So I was upping my volume with that goal of hitting Onyx, and eventually found myself not able to bet as much as I'd want to on certain tennis-related events. There would be a message that would come up on the app that says your bet is too large. You're able to bet up to X amount, which pretty much said to me that they wanted me to bet on the site. Then once I was winning on the site, they didn't want me to bet on the site.
I think the issue for me is one of transparency, right? You shouldn't be able to have advertisements that say sign up and win, and then if you actually can win, they'll kick you out. You shouldn't be able to allow people to come in and lose as much money as possible while restricting winners. You can't restrict winners.
Oh, yes, you can. When I was betting in the late 70s, that time I hit 22 out of 23. The guy, I called the bookie to make a bet, and he says, well, the FBI is monitoring my phone. I can't take any more bets from you, because I was beating his brains in. What he should have done is use me, take my bets, and bet him himself. But he didn't believe I could keep doing it, even though I killed him and did it the whole year. And then he's like, well, I can't take any more bets from you. You're too good. And that's with a bookie. But if I'm in Vegas, I'm not doing any of this shit. Nobody knows my name there. I go up, make my bet, $1,000 on this game or whatever, and that's it. I then walk away, and they don't know who I am, and I do it again. Now, I wasn't betting $100,000 a game, which I don't think I would. If I had that money, gold goes up to $1 million, and we're all filthy rich, which we will be soon. I'm still not going to bet $100,000 on a football game. I mean, you still kind of keep it, 10 grand here and there, and off you go. But I'll still be betting teasers, and I'll still be doing exactly what I'm doing now, because the formula works. We've thrown away trends because of too many variables. We understood that. You think any of these idiots understand variables? Hell no. Do your bookies give you credit? No, it's pay on Tuesday. So they give me, I can bet so much a game. And then, when I was in that Florida State game, Oklahoma, when I won, I had 2,000, 2,500. I also had other bets. I probably had 10, 15 grand bet that weekend, but it was pay on Tuesday. So if you paid on Tuesday, you were fine. If you got paid Tuesday, you were fine. I never had any problems getting paid. And so there was no credit per se. The credit was you can bet the game, but you got to pay me on Tuesday. But since I normally won, I normally got the money. I never ran into where I couldn't, like the gambler, 44,000. I never ran into those problems because my INFJ, I could feel the games. I jumped right on the 70 Steelers and won a fortune on them, and Jimmy Johnson and Miami Hurricanes of the 80s, Joe Montana. And that was the thing, how you win. You bet the winners. And that's why I'm so hard on a Lamar or half these quarterbacks, because they're not winners. Kirk Cousins, loser. Jalen Daniels, winner. And Penix is a winner because he won at Washington. He beat Oregon twice. He beat Texas. If the game wasn't fixed against Michigan, he'd have beat them. So what you look at is you're looking at that. You're looking at the winner, and that's why I'm hard on even Josh Allen. They're not winners, right? Mahomes, we love Mahomes because he's a winner. He wins in the big games. And then we got Barkley on Philadelphia. He's a winner. We are looking Chase and Jefferson and Burrow. We're looking for winners, and I can spot them. And I usually can spot them because of college. So when I'm hard on the draft going Cam Ward is not a winner because he sucked at Washington State for 3 years. Then he got okay at Miami in one of the worst conferences ever. on the ACC. So what I'm doing is looking for who we're going to bet on. And I'm watching college to see who we can bet on. And then after I do that, I look at then when they get drafted, now I know. So Will Howard, I don't know why everybody's down on him. He's fine. And Cam Ward is not. And Prime Jr., forget about him. And that's where I come up with Scattaboo and Gentry and Neal from Kansas. These guys are winners. You're going to bet money on. You want to bet on them. That's what I'm all about. That's really the underlying factor of what I do. But I can spot them because I watch all the college games. I'm watching all the college games. And I can pick it up in a half hour if the players are good or bad. I can see it and go. And Prime Jr., forget about him. Caleb, forget about him. He's never going to be a winner. You don't just become a winner. He got nailed in the Notre Dame game. He got nailed against Oregon. Forget about it. Dylan Gabriel did kill Michigan. He beat Ohio State. He's a winner. The fact he lost the second Ohio State game had nothing to do with him. Their defense sucked. So you've got to understand the game. But that's what I'm looking at. Who do we bet on? You're betting on the player, not the team. In the NBA, I don't watch it anymore. I used to bet on Magic and Kareem all the fucking time. Isaiah and the Pistons, I would bet them under. It was like a joke. I mean, the over-under would be like, 170, which is 85 to 80, it was 165, and they wouldn't even get close to it. I made so much money on betting under on the Pistons. You have to understand the team. What are they good at? And then that's what's going to show up. Oh, you can't hit them. That's why we took Oakland and the Dodgers. Oakland's got 7 hitters. The Dodgers was 6. They're going to score runs. They've been scoring runs the first 2 games. They're not really facing Sandy Koufax. See, but Sandy Koufax will neutralize a good hitting team. But we don't really have one. What Fried and the game today, the under we took with Texas has DeGrom against the other guy. We hit Max Fried against Ric Flair the other day, Brian Wu. So we understand pitching beats hitting, but if the pitcher's not good, hitting will go over. Simple concepts, but we understand that and we see it and it works every time. And that's what we have to do. And this is very good. We'll watch the whole thing. It's got about 10 minutes up, but you see the professional bettors. What's their mistake? They're getting he wants the benefits. Well, how much are you betting on these games that they're cutting you off? And of course, like my bookie, he didn't want anything to do with me. I was killing him. The FBI's monitoring my phone. Give me a fucking break. Okay. And then I found another bookie, and bookies aren't hard to find, especially back in the 70s and 80s. You'd go to the bowling alley, and then every other lane, there's Joe the bookie. And I go through them because they're too stupid to take my bets. You're getting the best handicapper probably in the world, and you're not using them. And you are sitting there saying you can't bet with me anymore. Well, why? Well, because you win too much. Well, then why don't you bet on my winners? Well, I don't bet. I'm just the bookie. I mean, it's like crazy. So I'm waiting for Al Pacino to call me to go on his show. I'll show them all how it's done. All right.
And expand limits for losers, all while saying that you're a fair place for anybody to play. That's pretty deceptive, in my opinion. So it's not just a limit.
No, that's perfectly fine. You're wrong there, fella.
I just got this great NFL offer, guaranteed, all up front, and this one's gonna be hard to pass up.
DraftKings is not able to succeed because of some random guy on the street who's placing a $10 same game parlay. They're able to succeed because 1 in 100 customers is losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And to be clear, if you look at the distribution of alcohol sales, the vast majority of it comes from people who drink way too much alcohol. But liquor stores aren't able to prey on those customers in the same way. They can't send them push notifications that, you haven't deposited in a couple of days. Why don't you come back and we'll give you one for on us? I mean, there's a recent case in the Wall Street Journal with a woman who had a family and she just mortgaged her house. Not great, but that's the kind of customer that even if DraftKings isn't saying they want, that's the kind of customer who's actually paying their bills.
There were so many times when I wanted to quit and I couldn't because the industry kept luring me back in, essentially.
That thing that we refer to as ban or bankrupt I believe, is the problem. If you're a very good player, that is, that you have an advantage over the house, they are going to limit or ban you. It's oftentimes document, we're not going to take your action, close your account, or we're going to limit you to $1.90, you know. On the bankrupt part, if you're not a very sharp gambler, you have failings and you'll go for every goofy parlay, and that's the bankrupting.
Right, because for against players they've flagged as being winners, they'll limit them. Everybody else, it's like, you know, they'll take whatever you want to bet.
What the goal is not to manage risk, it's to eliminate the risk.
Our wager limits allow us to manage our liability exposure and avoid unsustainable losses. They do sometimes limit individual users for a variety of different behaviors. Some users may have more information than we do. Some users may have a better model than we do. We're comfortable taking wagers for them, but we have to do it in a responsible manner that protects our company.
Models. What's a model? I don't use models. This is the problem, right? So what they're really trying to say in English is, we don't want winners. That's the risk, is somebody can beat them. And that's the problem with casinos. They should not care if I win. They actually should prefer it, because what do you see when somebody hits the slot machine for $1 million? They show you that. They're very proud of that. And then everybody comes in and bets on the slot machines thinking they're going to win $1 million. So they should do the same thing with sports betting. Look, Howard won, $1 million here. You can do it too. I mean, so this is the problem with Vegas. Their heads are so far up their ass. They don't know what they're doing. They're doing models. So in other words, they don't understand what they're really doing. They're doing models, and that's what's happening in the stock market with the analytics or algorithms. I think we got algorithmed in gold the last few days, where it just kept shooting down. I kept waiting for like today, you see it go up. I kept waiting for that for 3 days. It would go down and then it would level off. And I go, okay, when's the up? And the up never came for 3 days. Now you'll see the algorithm take it up and you'll just see it go, go, go. And we're like, oh, what the fuck is the price of gold? Like, so I don't use models. I know Nick wanted to use a model, and I says, you can't, because of the variables. I'm not quite sure he understood that. He would argue with me, and I go, it's not that I don't like algorithms. They don't work in sports because there's too many variables. How do you plan in the injury? How do you plan in New England needs to win the game for the 2 seed or the 1 seed, or Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, whoever has to win the game? Where's that in the model? You can't put it in the model. Models don't work. All right.
You have a situation where a patron is losing and being encouraged through outreach by an operator's VIP staff and incentives. What's the balance when that same patron begins to win?
We should recognize that we have regulations in place to deal with companies that are, selling products we deem to be problematic for society. We believe that tobacco companies should be allowed to make money, but they shouldn't be allowed to advertise on TV. Their products are going to be taxed very highly. There's going to be, something on the little box that says you're going to get cancer if you do this. We don't have that in sports betting.
Again, I come back to this idea that all the issues that society is dealing with, whether it's the gamblers being limited, whether it's problem gambling, whether it's not being getting as much tax revenue as we thought they all stem back to whatever the sportsbook can do to make more money is creating all these obstacles. We have to ask ourselves, is it possible for a sportsbook to make money without doing all these things? Because if it's not, this is a bigger problem than we thought, but it has to be, because there's actually been sports betting in America for 75 years. Las Vegas, Nevada is where the modern sports betting industry was birthed, incubated, and perfected over nearly a century. A lot of people thought that what would happen is that the sports betting business that we've known here would be exported to states all across the country. But that's not what happened. The type of sports betting that we're experiencing today is a lot different than the way that they book sports here in Nevada. Let me get a $100 parlay on the Eagles and the over.
Since sports gambling became legal 5 years ago in the United States, in states more than Nevada, the consumers changed. I mean, I think the one unique thing about Circa is that we have a reputation to take big bets.
Circa Casino Resort, home of the biggest sports book in Las
Never
Vegas,
heard of
is
it.
decidedly old school, and in many ways the antithesis of the modern online sports book. They have set maximum bets for everyone, winners and losers alike, and they welcome bets from professionals to help them set their prices. DraftKings, they've already proposed so many wild fucking things. Like, they proposed passing on taxes to the winners. Now they're proposing subscription models. They're constantly trying to reinvent this wheel. Meanwhile, we're standing in a city in a sports book that was built on a very simple idea that you deal 11 to 10. Take a bet, you move a number. You know, this stuff has been done for a century, right? But to me, it just seems like if it wasn't broke, why are we trying to fix it?
So is it a profitable business?
It's not profitable yet, but we think we'll actually be the first operator. We'll be the operator that gets to profitability fastest relative to when we started. You know, the reality is, you know, we're very much in the early innings here.
We should really be looking at this as an antitrust issue, too. The two biggest sports books, DraftKings and FanDuel, hold 67% of the market share. They even tried to merge with each other in 2017 until the FTC, the state of California, and Washington, D.C. sued to block the merger. Despite not being able to join legally through acquisition, lawmakers allege they've been colluding with each other to shut out more competition. Their merger was blocked under the first Trump administration's FTC. And now, lawmakers from both parties are calling on the government to look into their duopoly power. They're really kind of using the same playbook that a lot of tech companies used before them. They're spending tons of money to try to conquer their market, push out all their competition, and then once they conquer that market, they eventually turn a profit. And the stock market and Wall Street is rewarding them for this practice.
Well, shares of FanDuel parent Flutter have soared today. Look at that, up 15% in European trading that showed U.S. gaming revenue growth up 26% year on year.
There's still a big question about who will enforce the rules with the sports books themselves.
This industry has exploded, and when you're appointed as a regulator, when you've got 77 lobbyists telling you something, not knowing they're all on the payroll of the industry, I mean, these companies are buying our politicians, you know, just plain and simple.
Well, they do that in
Most
everything.
firms spend $200 million on a ballot initiative. Funny things in this industry. I don't know how it got a bad reputation.
We have to trust our legislators and regulators because they have an important responsibility to the public with regard to gambling. Protecting problem gamblers is perhaps the most important one of all.
That'll never
But it's
happen.
made more difficult by the patchwork state-by-state nature of the current industry. Every state has their own laws, regulations, and standards. When you hear a sportsbook ad on TV or the radio, you ever notice the long list of phone numbers that they read at the end? That's because every state has their own hotline. Some states require that sportsbooks put money aside for responsible gambling initiatives, but they don't spell out what those initiatives should be. Some states don't require any money be set aside to address gambling-related harm at all. Of the 82 player protection standards suggested by the National Council on Problem Gambling, the average sports betting state has only implemented 32. And no state has implemented more than 49. As states weigh the fairness of limiting winners or the effectiveness of the current responsible gambling measures, the sports books are already working on their next idea to make more money. If you don't have a casino to bankroll your sports book, why not just become a casino?
Sports betting started to get legalized during COVID in a lot of states because there was this lack of funding, and states thought this was an easy way to raise funds, and they were right. But then eventually you realize, well, actually, sports betting doesn't actually make you that much money from the operator side. They need to get more money, and iGaming is the only way to do that. And if you look at states that have both of them, far more funding and far more revenue comes from iGaming and sports betting. In places like Michigan and New Jersey, I think it's like 3 or 4 times as much. And then also, women don't really bet on sports, whereas online casino and casino in general is actually pretty split between the genders. And so by legalizing iGaming, you basically expose this entire half of the population that wasn't gambling before, wasn't losing money and providing tax revenue, that now can do that. It's so easy to, for example, double down and chase your losses in a way that obviously you can still do with sports betting, but the rapidness of it is really, really scary, and it just makes it, I think, a fundamentally different product. It feels like you're scrolling through TikTok, but you're just losing money while you're doing it.
Gambling is something that's really all over, everywhere in America today. It's how we invest our retirement into the stock market, and we're gambling there, and we're told, hey, you don't know, there may be less money when you retire than more. This is a risk that you're taking, and we assume those risks and just hope for the best. There's a story that we're told in America that the most successful people in our country got to where they are because they took some big risk. They were willing to risk losing in order to win, and their success is their just reward. Ironically, these companies that want to get rich off gambling don't want to take any gamble themselves. They and their shareholders are scared to death of risk. And in their effort to avoid it, they're making things worse. For sports, for their customers, for all of us. Gamblers has taught me, it's this. The strong may prey on the weak, but the clever prey on the strong. If there's a way for sports gambling to exist in our society that's safe, fair, and fun for everybody involved, I suspect it's going to require somebody sharp to figure out how.
Well, since we're sharp, we won't figure that out because we don't care. It's a unique field in that they don't want me to bet because I'm going to win. But if it was Coke or Pepsi, they want everybody to buy. So I don't think what they're doing is smart at all. You should want everybody to bet, right? And if you win, just say, hey, look, Professor won. And if he can win, you can do it too. And believe me, that is not the case. What we have is very, very rare that we can pick and win the way we pick and win. It's a lot of psychology. It's a lot of knowing the players, as I've been saying. I don't like this thing, the FanDuel and the other one where they take 70% of the market. Well, you still have the casinos, in Vegas. I can go to MGM downtown and bet, although the odds suck. They're 13-10 for football games. Fuck off. I'll pay 11-10. I ain't paying 13-10, especially on teasers. When I first started betting teasers in the 70s, they were even money. Now they're 11-10. Okay, 13-10. No fucking way. That's the other thing you got to realize are the odds. The odds suck, and they're making them worse. And when you go play blackjack and craps, the odds suck. So this is the problem. That's why I don't like online gambling. I don't want anybody to know what the fuck I'm doing. And that's why I got the bookie. Unless I'm in Vegas, then I go up and I'll bet at Caesars. At least I used to. I haven't been there. They chased me away. That's what Vegas used to be. Come to Vegas, and we're going to subsidize everything. So we're going to give you $2 steaks and lobster, and the hotel will be $30 a night, no resort fee. And you could rent a car, and the parking's free, and you have a good time. And we want you to lose your money gambling because we don't believe you're a good gambler. So you're going to play blackjack and lose $500, and that just paid for dinner and the room. That's how they used to do it. Now they fucked it up. Their model's fucked up. They want to make money on the food. They want to make money on the hotel. They want to make money on the parking. What the hell are they doing? So nobody has money left to gamble with. Well, that's where you're going to make the money because very few people understand how to gamble. And they're just there to vacation. What the fuck are you doing? You're chasing people away. I'm not having any interest paying $200 a night on a Sunday night at the Tuscany. Playing poker. I'll play poker at Caesars Venetian. And that's okay because there's really no house. Then I'm betting on myself, which is fine. That's what I want to do. But, everything else is just ridiculous. You don't really want to do the other stuff. I mean, I don't want to pay $40 a night to park or 20 or whatever. And where I used to stay at Caesars and then I took Carmen to the Wynn, I can't see, with the resort fees, you got to be kidding me. So they really ruined Vegas because the corporate idiots get involved who don't know what they're doing. Just like this lady trying to run FanDuel or whatever. She doesn't know what she's doing. You need a gambler to go in and run it because we understand the logic and the psychology of what people are doing and how to make money at it. Oops, I hit the button. My bookie must have had mob connections if this phone, well, I don't think the phone was tapped. I think that was his excuse. So, because he didn't want me to bet with him. So he came up with an excuse that the FBI's tapping his phone. They weren't really tapping his phone. He didn't want me to keep beating his brains out. If he's got 100 customers and 99 lose and there's Howard kicking his ass, he doesn't want me. But he's not smart enough to take my bets and bet them. That's the problem these idiots have. Well, you don't believe I can pick, but I'm beating your brains in every week. I go 22-1 on college rivalry week, and you don't believe I know what I'm doing? Like, really? So that's what happens, and you just shake your head. But he didn't. He was he Bob related? I don't know. I don't think so, but he could have been. I never really asked that question, and all they care about is if you pay them. Watch the movie The Gambler in the 70s. All they care about is if you lose, you pay them. The mob leaves you alone. They want your action. See, you need action to be a sports book, not all this FanDuel and everything. But if you're at Caesars, I want $1 million on the Rams, and I want $1 million on the 49ers, and I'm going to win $100,000. That's what a bookie is supposed to do: balance his books and win on the juice. It's 11-10. I'm going to get $1.1 million on one of the teams, and the other I'm going to pay out $1 million. I'm going to make $100,000. That's the idea. So he wants the action. He doesn't care if you win or not, because he's going to get action on the other way. So it doesn't matter to him. That's the whole point these idiots are missing. But it's interesting how stupid even the professional guys, I did this for the rewards. You don't let anybody know who you are. I go in, nobody knows me. And I just go up and I go, give me the bet. And I get the bet and I go cash it in. And that's it. I remember when I won all that money on the Florida State Auburn, and I won the 11 team teaser and the 10 and all that money. I went to the cashier 3 different times to 3 different cashiers. I went and gave them half my stack, got about $3 or $4 grand, and I did it again and again because I was afraid of being 1099. Are you going to 1099 me? So I'm only going to give you a couple thousand here and there and there. That's why I went 3 times, and that was fun. There's nothing like cashing your winning your 11 team teaser. That was the highlight. Well, the highlight was the Florida State Oklahoma game, the big lock where I hit 2,500 when I'm like 18 years old, when money was really money in the 70s. That was the most fun, but that was with the bookie. So I just on Tuesday collected. So was there mafia? I don't know. I never really asked. I never really cared. They didn't have me killed for winning. They just said, "Oh, we're being tapped. You can't play with us anymore. It's no fun. You win all the time." So I got that, but that's what it is. So all this, that's why I'd be careful with the money lines. Be careful with the props. Be careful with the odds. I think it's something else. I think people are buried in debt, credit cards up the ass. And I think they see gambling as a way, I can get 100-1. I can bet $10 and win 100. Even the fact that you probably could bet it 100 times and you might win once, as long as they think they can win at it, that's, I think, what's really happening. They understand it's bad, but these are people that have no idea how to bet. No idea how to bet sports. Don't know what to look for or not. They just bet it. I've heard of, I've heard of Joe Montana. I'll bet him. I don't know when is good and bad, and these props. And I think that's a lot of what it is. We had one lady on here when Titus won 18,000 on my picks. She catches it and she says, I'm gonna. So she bought for me a week, and this is life-changing money. Well, lady, you can't. It's very hard to do what Titus did and hit 10 games and win 18,000. And I can do that. I can give you 10 winners, but I can't. It's not magic. I can't do it every week. There's certain weeks it lines up and I can give you the winners. Just like basketball. I don't love tonight's game with Denver. I like it, but I don't love it. I'd rather have OKC be the team down. Look at Cleveland; they didn't win, so I do get the love, like the Texas game tonight, under with DeGrom against whoever they're playing, their ace, and I think Seattle has an ace. I don't know. Somebody has an ace going, and that's the point of it. That's what I'm looking for. That's why it's a 4-star. But it's certainly studied. It's not just, oh, maybe it'll win, and maybe, well, I'll bet on it. But that's the thing. People, that's why I try to teach you money management. You've got to just be patient. You've got to win a little, build your bankroll. Win a little, build your bankroll. With me, I'm going to give you a boatload of winners. I will give you some losers, but I'm going to give you a lot of winners. So you just keep betting and you keep winning and you build your bankroll. You bet slowly. You don't try to make 100,000. If you're $1,000 better, you just try to make 2 or 3 grand and raise your bankroll, raise your bankroll. And as you raise it, you bet more. And that's how you win. And that's how I win every fucking year. I find the team, I find our bitch and we bet on it. I find the teams we bet against and we just keep playing them. They keep winning and we increase our bankroll. I mean, I didn't make 100-unit bet at the end on the Super Bowl. It was just a normal couple $1,000 bet on the over in Philadelphia as the dog. And that was it. I mean, you just keep going. So a lot of people just don't have any idea what they're doing. This is the biggest problem. If that lady would have contacted me, I would have cured her easily. I would get her off of it. Sort of like with people that are smokers or drug people, friends that I have like that. I just say it's substitute. You don't do it. Get into gold. It'll keep your mind off of drugs and cigarettes or alcohol, right? Learn and understand economics and gold. And that's what you should do. And that'll get your mind off of it. And then you won't be addicted to it anymore. You're addicted to it because that's your thing. But if I change your thing, you'll get away from it. I used to go down and play a lot of poker, but I found betting on gold and silver a much stronger bet. I make a lot more money with no risk. So instead of gambling downtown, I'm just, let's go to the coin store. Let's go buy some more silver. Let's go buy some more gold. And I think that's what you do. So you kind of get into other things. And now I don't really even, I can still play poker, but, I'd rather bet on the sure thing, which is gold and silver. That's why I bring it up more. And, but I like to explain everything. So you know what you're doing. So people ask you, you know why you're doing it. You know why you're betting a game. And that I think is very important to what you need to do. Economics, tariffs are really bad because they add costs. Oh, okay. Now you understand it. So would you be in the stock market? No, not only because of the tariffs raising prices, raising costs. So how is my company going to be more profitable? Their costs just went up. Inflation is printing of the money, making it worthless. So it's not like, oh, good, inflation went down or wage inflation. I was listening to Mark McGuire or Alligator and Egon, and the Alligator still thinks there's wage inflation. He doesn't understand it. He's a banker. He's clueless. He looks stupid when he's on a show talking about wage inflation. So I'm going to go in and critique him on that. Egon gets it. Egon knows they keep printing money. He knows printing money is inflation. Alligator doesn't. And Alligator keeps looking stupid. The more shows he does that he thinks all he does is say, well, it's not the dollar going, it's not gold going up, the dollar going down. No. Then why did gold just go down $200? The dollar didn't go up. How could it? It's being inflated to zero. It has no value. How could it possibly be going up? Most of the online sport books will ban consistent winners except for Pinnacle. Well, that's why I don't bet online. My bookie doesn't care as long as I pay. That's all he cares about. Again, I get kicked off from the bookie because of winning, because he's too stupid to take my bets. But I don't really worry about that. But basically, this is the problem with the sports. Oh, so you're a winner. So what do you got to do? Get 5 different accounts, or get other people to bet for you? But eventually they'll get thrown off because we keep winning. Well, that's what they were talking about, the risk. They don't want you. You're the risk. You're going to beat them. They just want 100 people and all losers. The problem with all the losers, they'll run out of money, and then they're going to be done betting. They're going to get tired of losing, right? Me, I'm going to keep winning, so they don't want me there, but then they end up with nobody. Because the losers, it's just a fad that's going around, like Bitcoin or AI and shit like that. Nobody knows what AI does. AI do anything? No, it's. I don't see any value in AI. I don't see any value in algorithms and analytics, and I don't see any value in these sports books. They're poison. Yeah, cigarette smoking will kill you, but they haven't banned Coke and Pepsi, which are killing you also. There's no good that comes out of sugar. So why aren't they banning sugar? But they keep it going. But the difference is everybody buys it, so they don't want to discourage you from buying it. See, that's the difference in a normal product. Gambling, they don't want anybody to win is ridiculous. Being the handicapper, I don't care. You can come and I'll make you money. That's what you want. I'll be happy to. I don't ever. I can't think of the word where anybody's welcome. I don't care what you are. I don't discriminate. You wanna give me your money, I'll make you money. That's what it is. And so with and that's the thing. But grocery store, anybody's welcome. But for some reason, for gambling, it's not like that. Oh no, if you win, how many people actually can win, right? Maybe if they have 10,000 bettors, maybe 10 that can actually win. There's very few people at my skill level of picking games, especially being an INFJ. I can feel and sense things also, but there's just no way that there's that many people capable of winning. And then they run all these money lines and they run all these props at you. I certainly couldn't win at the props, but I don't want to lose my focus on picking the game or the total the way I pick it. And when baseball, I'm looking, but I'm seeing there's so many variables for the managers. That's why I stick with football. And then the NBA playoffs are psychological. The back again, they have to win. Like tonight, Denver has to win or it's over. Or OKC can lose. Okay, well, that's a good reason to bet the game. But I'm not betting a lot on it, but it would be a bet. And that's the thing. So that's what you're trying to understand. And but our biggest lock is gold and silver, because we actually see, this is what I always do is I understand what's going on. I try to go why, and then I dig, and then I find it, and then I tell you, this is worthless. That's why we buy gold and silver. And you will be Rumpelstiltskin and pay whatever to get gold and silver, because that's your only salvation. Otherwise, you're dead, because your money's not going to buy you food. What are you going to do? And so but I'm smart enough to hold the gold, understanding comex, knowing it's worth a lot more than comex says it is. And when it drops, I don't panic and sell it. Oh my God, it's going to zero. I realize it's time to buy, because comex is just bullshit. It's just option traders, like I show you on the big drop or whatever it was called. The girl playing blackjack and everybody betting on the girl, and then everybody betting on them. Well, they're just idiots. They don't know what they're doing. I'm only betting on myself. I'm not betting on anybody else. So that's really what you're looking for, is that, and that's what you're trying to understand. And that's, you must understand why you do things and go from there. And then you got to understand opportunity cost. If I'm in Bitcoin, is it really worth anything? It's not really, because it's in, even if it is, you can't see it. So right there, people asked me about Bitcoin years ago. It might have been $300, $500. I don't care. I says, what is it? Oh, it's digital. And I don't like digital in the first place. I go, what's it backed by? Nothing. Now, fundamentally, I know if something's not backed by anything, it's worthless. So if you go here, and we'll let Hank Aaron come out, this is backed by the fact it's Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron's backing this card, and then it's the condition. And this is a beautiful, beautiful looking card. So him and the condition gives it value. But it is something you can see and hold. That's the point of it. And a Bitcoin, you can't see it. You can't hold it. You can't explain what it looks like because it's not real. And I'm not convinced that digital money has a value because you can't show it to me. And I don't know that it even exists. How can it be worth 100,000? We don't even know if it exists or not. And that's the point of it. But I know this exists because I can hold it and see it. And I know this exists because I can hold it and see it. And that, I think, is the key why it's hard to get into digital money. Digital internet works because I can see I'm on the computer. I can go to YouTube and do a class. So I can see the internet. I can see what happens. However, I can't see the Bitcoin being worth anything because I can't see the Bitcoin. You can't prove to me that I have money when I don't, and you certainly can't prove to me that it's worth 100,000 and there's only 21 million. How can you prove that to me? You don't even know what the guy who invented it looks like, if it's his real name. You cannot tell me there's 21 million tokens. Prove it. You can't. And you can't prove to me that Bitcoin actually exists. So why am I going to invest in it when I got gold and silver that I can see what it looks like? Now I'm getting the itch to buy more gold, but we'll see. I was waiting. I interviewed Friday with Ford. So I'm waiting there's supposed to be a next interview, but who knows? Who knows? Ford might have went bankrupt and is out and not hiring, which I was surprised that they were doing anything. Anyway, that's what's going on, and we will see. But it's all decision making. What's the best thing for you? And it's better to be in gold and silver than to be in money. Not bad to be in a Rolex or a card, but money's still better. Gold is money. It's still better. Now, yes, I would have to trade gold in for whatever the money is to go to the grocery store, or maybe it's on my credit card or debit card. Maybe it's gold back, and then I keep doing what I've been doing. I'll go to the grocery store, but instead of having my credit card in this, I have my credit card in gold. I don't know. So I'm sure it'll be something like that. And everyone, there's not enough gold for everybody. Morons, you're not carrying the gold with you, and morons, you'll have gold backed currency, so it'll be partially gold depending on how many tons you have. And what did you think we did from 1776 to 1914? We were on gold backed currency. We became very successful, but that's how they printed money. And it still doesn't change. You make money and then you spend it. That's money. And that's why Bitcoin's not money, because you cannot go spend it. You can't spend because nobody wants it. And if nobody wants it, it's not money. Gold, oh yeah, everybody wants gold and silver. Believe me, you offer some guy gold, oh yeah, he's taking it in a heartbeat. anyway, but you got to understand why gold can't be printed. That's why it's the champ, because it can't be printed. A lot of people don't understand that. They go, well, gold's been around for 5,000 years, but they really don't know why gold's been around for 5,000 years. They just know it's always been there, but they don't understand the why, because you can't print it. That's why it's highly demanded, and you can't print it, and it comes in different sizes, so you can buy different things with an ounce, then a tenth of an ounce. There's even a 20th of an ounce I see in Canada, and that's the whole beauty of it. It's gold, and that's what you've got to see. So anyway, why do I show you this? It's an asset. It's Hank Aaron's in demand. It's a beautiful card. It's a real card. 1968. Lemieux, the Ripken rookie, the Lemieux. These are all highly demanded cards that are in really good condition. I was very good about getting the condition. And then here's Yzerman, who's not as popular as a Gretzky or an Orr, but there's only one of them, and that's the key. That brings demand because there's one, and he's Yzerman. He's okay. Won 4 or 5 Stanley Cups. So because of that, with one, because there's only one, the demand's there because everybody knows it's going to be worth a lot of money. They only made one of them, and the conditions gem mint. So that's what you have is things that are that Rolexes. They're very limited, and everybody likes it. As I said, Ric Flair, I was watching something, and he's just broke, and he never paid his taxes. He was like an idiot, right? He's like a child. I'm Ric Flair. I have girl. Oh, I found there's a naked girl, and there's a limo, and I drink until my brain passes out. I'm not sure what he's drinking isn't water. I was watching that Focus movie with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and he says, don't put alcohol in my drink. This way I look like I'm drinking, and I'll pretend I'm drunk. I'm not sure Ric Flair didn't do that, because there's no way that he's telling the truth. I had all these beers and I had all this alcohol every day. That's bullshit. You'd be dead. Your body cannot take all that. So I think a lot of what he was drinking was water. He seems like he's a liar a lot, and he just says things that you want to hear. But he made a lot of dumb things, but he never branded himself with Rolex. The one thing he easily could have done was be a sponsor for Rolex, because that's what he said. Look, I wear a Rolex, and that's what he should have done. But yet he doesn't do that, and that's his problem. He tried to start his own business. What is he? He's an idiot. He doesn't know how to start businesses. Anyway, that's what a brand is. You got to brand yourself. So if it's gambling, I'm branding myself as gambling, as gold, and that's what I do. I hope you guys like my thumbnails I've been posting, or a lot of my Vegas trips, and the Ferraris are from Monte Carlo in Monte Carlo, in the real near France. I was there with Carmen. So a lot of that, but I think it's better. I think it gives you a better, like, ooh, look at that thumbnail. I think that attracts people. So, but it's all up to what I can say and what I can deliver. How I can teach you is really the importance. Anyway, so today, the lock, Texas under 7, 4 units. Oakland over 10 against the Dodgers, 2 units. I also like Baltimore under 9, but that's probably underway. The White Sox under 9 and Toronto over 8. It's a very small schedule on a Thursday. We've got PGA. We've got Memorial Weekend, I think. Is that this weekend or next weekend? Might be next weekend. I don't know anymore. Mother's Day was last weekend, so that's where we're at. And then we have the bad. I don't even look at hockey. It's too, I can't name one. Bobby Orr's not playing anymore. I don't care. So Texas under, Oakland over tonight. In basketball, I like Denver against OKC. They're a home dog of what, 5.5. They have to win or they're out. OKC can afford to lose, and they're now. Yeah, Minnesota beat Golden State because they were scared Steph Curry was coming back, so they had to finish him off. And usually it's easier at home, so it'd be very hard for OKC to win at Denver to eliminate them. They might beat them, but then, and I just froze, but hopefully I don't get that death knock. If I do, I'm not coming back because it's 2 hours. Anyway, any other questions or comments, please let me know. I thought that was an interesting sports video, and it's what we do in class. Tomorrow, Mark McGuire should be on by himself and not these stupid guests that he has on that I don't know why he has these guests on. It's different because he's only on every Friday. It depends who, like me, I'm on every day, so I can kind of switch angles a little bit, but still talk about everything. And it's just amazing how people just are getting this wrong with the inflation. Trump looks like an idiot. Tariff, not tariff, making some negotiation with Qatar and some negotiation with Saudi Arabia. Believe me, they know you're an idiot. I was never impressed with Trump. I always thought he was strange, and with the "you're fired" really turned me off. Again, being president is nothing more than being a clown. He just doesn't know what he's doing, but he got elected because of money. It's all corrupt, the government. So we know all that. It's a terrible thing, and really gold gets you out of everything because gold gets us off the matrix. We're no longer in the matrix. We don't give a shit what they do to the stock market, which is fixed, and the bond market and all the housing stuff. It's all fixed. The banks are all fixed. But the one thing that isn't is gold and silver because we get out of the banking system. Oh, COMEX is fixing it for now. And when BRICS starts pricing it, China and Russia, then we'll see. And I hope it's a free market and we can get a normal $10,000 price because that's probably what it's worth. But it's funny how nobody understands. Alligator thought China had 20,000 tons of gold, and it's more like 60. I don't know where he's getting it from, but Mark McGuire gave us that 60,000 number, and I believe him much more than I leave Alligator, who really, the longer you talk to him, the less he knows what he's talking about. All right, I'm going to have some lunch. I'm going to go to the pool, and it looks nice outside, so we will do that. Good luck on baseball, basketball if you're betting it. Go buy your gold and silver as quick as you can. Let's take a last look at gold. Let's see where this is at. And then I got to talk to my Daria. There we go. Nice 32.19. Now, when it was 34, we'd be worried about this, but coming from 31 and change, we're very happy. Just to see it bounce back, 32.19, I would think it's going to keep going. I think we'll be back to 3,300. Eventually, we're headed up to 4,500. This little thing has no staying power because nobody has the desire to sell their gold. Because if you do, you're back in this. And nobody wants to be in this because this has no value. None of the currencies do. The gold-backed currencies do because the gold's backing it, but not this. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. I'm going to go text Daria and see how she's doing. Anyway, www.teaserking.com. If you want to email me, please feel free. Have a nice day, and I will see you tomorrow after Mark McGuire and see what he's saying. But take care. Enjoy yourself. Buy your gold and silver. PGA's on this week, and happy Memorial Day, but I think we got a week for that. I think it's the fourth Monday of the month. All right. Take care, everybody.